Coming back now to our continuous coverage, at a ceremonial welcome at the Great Hall of People, Prime Minister has begun his bilateral talks with his Chinese counterpart. A whole host of issues are expected to be discussed during this particular meeting. Now, Prime Minister Modi and the talks will rather focus, from the Indian perspective, the talks will rather focus on issues of bilateral importance, including the boundary issue. The talks will also focus on the trade imbalance, which is presently in favor of China. Modi is expected to seek support for his Make in India initiative while inviting Chinese investments in the country. He will also address students at the prestigious Tsinghua University, following which he will travel to the Temple of Heaven, where he will witness a Yoga Tai Chi joint event. Now, yesterday, the Prime Minister held very substantive discussions with Chinese President Xi Jinping on strengthening of mutual trust and the boundary issue. Modi was warmly greeted by the President, who set aside protocol to receive a foreign dignitary outside Beijing. Modi raised the question of some $46 billion investment by China in an economic corridor passing through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So that's official now. We know that Modi has raised one of the big concerns that India has had as far as China-Pakistan relationship goes. But the Prime Minister also visited through the course of yesterday many cultural sites in Keqiang.
The talks were about 90 minutes. President Xi mentioned that this was the first time he was meeting a foreign leader outside Beijing. Issues which were discussed, they discussed on the political side, strengthening trust, increasing convergence. Political issues came up, boundary issues came up.
We are waiting to establish a live link with TV Today Network's Managing Editor Rahul Kamal. In just a short moment from now, we'll be going cutting across live to Beijing. But let me reintroduce my guests here in the studio. Ambassador Das Gupta as well as Professor Deepak are still with us. Let me come across to you, Ambassador Das Gupta. The whole point of India raising this concern yesterday, and now it's official that we know that India has raised, the Prime Minister has raised the concern about Chinese investments in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This bonhomie between China and Pakistan is a major cause of concern back home.
It's not the bonhomie, but the fact that these proposed railway lines, pipelines, etc., are lying through Indian territory, which is currently occupied by Pakistan. That certainly is a concern, and it's something which we must flag to the Chinese. I believe this was done by the Ministry of External Affairs before the visit as well, but this is a very important matter, and it affects this whole thing about this Chinese one belt, one way sort of approach. There are many good things in it in which we can benefit and we should participate, but there are also certain negative aspects of it, and this is one of them. So it is important that we flag our concerns to the Chinese side. This will be important, for example, in the case, it could be important, I mean, if it comes up under the AIIB, which has recently been set up, it should be clearly understood that this sort of controversy should be avoided, in pushing forward with the idea for pan-Asian cooperation on this.
Okay. Professor Deepak, before I come across to you, let's quickly cut across live now to, of course, these are visuals coming in from that briefing hall. As soon as the two leaders, the two prime ministers actually come out from their delegation level talks as well as one-on-one talks, they are going to address the media from this particular hall. We are waiting to hear from both the leaders in a short moment from now. Let's cut across live now to Beijing, where I'm joined in by Headlines Today's TV Today Network's Managing Editor, Rahul Kamal. Good morning, Rahul. A lot of expectations in this business leg of Narendra Modi's visit, day 2.
Morning, Sanket. I want to kickstart our broadcast this morning. We've just landed from Xi'an in Beijing, and I want to kickstart by looking at the glowing coverage that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is receiving in the Chinese press. This is China Daily, ultra-nationalistic Chinese newspaper. It's got Modi and Xi on the front page. The headline reads, "Cheers for Modi, reflect closer links." Just give me a moment as I open the Beijing Youth Daily. A very animated Modi along with Xi Jinping here on the Beijing Youth Daily. I want to take you through some of what the newspaper authors have written, because remember, China Daily is rather nationalistic, ultra-nationalistic Chinese newspaper. They've been very critical of India, even in the build-up to this visit. Today, however, they're saying that the Prime Minister enjoyed a festive day in Xi'an. The Chinese President accompanied him. They talk about what Xi said, that he's the first time a foreign leader has been received in his hometown. Rather glowing coverage, because not just on the front page, it goes on page 3, page 9. In fact, on page 3, they're looking at Modi at the Terracotta Warriors Museum. Just give me a moment as I pull that out for you. After warm greeting in Xi'an, Modi visits temple and warriors. It's almost like a full page long coverage. It's got also a story here, if my camera person Kirpal can show you, about "Hello China." PM tells followers on the Chinese version of Twitter, which is Weibo, and that's Modi. And Modi's been the butt of a lot of memes back home because of his glasses and his look at the Terracotta Warriors Museum. But here he's got quite a lot of positive coverage. This picture is from the Sabarmati River when Modi had Xi over. This is the Tang Dynasty welcome. Then here at the Huangsing monastery in Xi'an. And then there's an editorial also which reflects on page 9 the need for closer ties with India. So he's actually got wallpaper coverage. Now you can say to some extent that unlike when he travels to the United States or when Modi travels to Australia, this is Chinese state-run media, largely Chinese state-run media, and therefore they're compelled to cover him. But for a newspaper that's been rather critical, the China Daily this morning coming out in fulsome praise of the Prime Minister, and also looking in a rather positive light at the India-China relationship, Sanket.
That's right, Rahul. What about that other newspaper that you were actually talking about, which shows Narendra Modi in a rather animated gesture? If you could just take us through that also.
Yeah, but that unfortunately
is in Chinese.
I was trying to find Anand Krishnan to be able to try and make sense of it. I can show you the pictures, but unfortunately I won't be able to do very much more. So here is the Beijing Youth Daily. It's got an animated Xi and Modi on the front page. They've actually given a big splash going all across. Next time when we do another live shot, I'll try and bring in somebody who can help translate this for us. And it goes on. So he's actually got good coverage. I was watching the morning bulletin on CCTV. Their wallpaper on this story. Here is Xi. This is where we were standing, right? This is the live image that we showed our viewers on Headlines today. This is from the second floor of the Wild Goose Pagoda in Xi'an. The Prime Minister and the Chinese President waving out to people. The Prime Minister, of course, beaming. He loves this, Sanket. We were, for about 35 to 40 minutes, we were just a step away from him. We saw the body language, the animated discussion he was having with President Xi. He loves this, much more than, what he's doing with domestic politics or domestic economics. The fact that he's in the company of world leaders, the fact that he's setting the agenda, this is something that I think Modi really likes. Or at least it comes across as if he really likes this, and that's the body language that he puts out. There was something very interesting happened on CCTV. Now, CCTV English is the Chinese state-run broadcaster. Now, you and I carry stories, run broadcasts. You're running the morning show just now. Usually there's a story and then we move on to the next story. But when I was watching the coverage, I saw twice over the same story run back to back, and I was wondering whether this had been a production mistake, and I thought it probably was. Then I spoke to someone we met at CCTV, and I said, on their broadcast, the same story played twice over. They said that they've got specific instructions from the channel management coming from the party headquarters to try and show the Chinese president as much as possible. So what they do very often is run the same story which has the clipping of what the president did that day twice over to make a point doubly as emphatically. Would you believe that? Now, wouldn't Indian netas love to have something similar, have their story play the whole day? Well, they can't pull it off in India. Here in China, they can.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I remember reading your write-up too yesterday, stating the same. But this is rather unusual, Rahul. This is rather unusual to see this form of propaganda, where you are okay to even repeat a broadcast. perhaps, the new definition of TV going non-linear. But Rahul, do also take us through what things are going to be, how will they pan out today as well as tomorrow? Today we know that this is the business leg. All the newspapers have covered the first day of the trip. Today is actually going to be when, uncomfortable things will also have to be spoken about. It's not just song and dance that we are expecting today.
What the Indian side is trying to do, Sanket, is calibrate expectations. Everyone we've been speaking to in the government is constantly saying, don't have unrealistic expectations, because if you do, you'll come away disappointed. Think of this as a relationship that, especially over the last few years under the UP, according to them, has been in deep freeze. Prime Minister Modi is trying to be an icebreaker here. Now, the Chinese were expecting a breakthrough on e-visas, but the Indian security establishment dead set against that. The Chinese were expecting a pilot project to be announced from Delhi to Agra or Chennai to Bengaluru. That again, the Indian Railway said was unviable. They wanted to focus on upgrading railway infrastructure. That will be a key element of what happens today. There may not be the big ticket, high-speed rail corridor that the Chinese have been pushing for, but they'll help in skill updation, they'll help in upgrading current infrastructure. Those are the kind of agreements that we will see announced in a short while from now. What we'll also see, apart from sea to sea, which is country to country, we'll see S to S, which is state to state and city to city tie-up. So we know that the Maharashtra Chief Minister is here, we know that the Goa Chief Minister is here, Sanket, and they're signing deals with different states. So on a completely state-by-state basis. Now, one of the things that Prime Minister Modi has been saying in the build-up to his campaign, and now also once he's been in office, that it's very difficult to treat India as one whole. The Chinese president yesterday in the meeting that he had with Modi referred to the Gujarat model. They believe that it's easier to do business with states, and that really has been the Chinese model also, Sanket, as you well know. They identified certain pockets, they grew those pockets first. Other parts of the country saw what a Guangzhou had been able to achieve and then upped their game, tried to be the next Guangzhou, and that's how slow and steadily they were able to upgrade infrastructure all across China. Prime Minister Modi is pushing for that. It's a little unfair in my view that he's only got BJP chief ministers here, but maybe they are more willing to listen to his ideas, and therefore he feels more comfortable having a Devendra Fadnavis around him. But essentially, the idea also is to sign a lot of these small state-to-state relationship deals so that states can cooperate, cities can cooperate, and leave all the areas of disagreement on the side. Nobody really wants to focus on the disagreement areas. They're saying leave them on the side. Let's try and increase the areas of agreement.
All right, Rahul. Many thanks for joining us at this moment. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you. Remember, today is a very busy day for all of you. We have maximum reporting teams there in Beijing at this moment. Four of Headlines Today's correspondents, Anjana Kashyap, Rahul Kamal, who just got us this broadcast at this moment, Smita Sharma, as well as Anand Krishnan, who's the India Today Beijing correspondent, all tracking all the latest moves, the latest details, everything related to this very important diplomatic visit. Just a quick reminder, this is the hall where one can actually expect the two leaders to come and address or issue a statement after their bilateral meeting is over. Short break at this moment. We'll be back with a lot more analysis as well with Ambassador Das Gupta as well as Professor Deepak here in the studio. Short break, back in a moment.